Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Again, this is my second video on Backend for TypeScript. So there are two sort of main frameworks that I'm aware of when it comes to TypeScript in the backend. One was Nest, which I did in the previous video, and in this video I am doing FoalTS. And basically, it's been a while since I've used Foal, but I like Foal. I think I like the workflow here. It's kind of Ruby on Rails esque in a sense. Yeah, so let's just do it. Well, I find Nest.js has a very like Angular, the way it has a workflow is very similar to Angular on the front end, but in the back end, which is I guess makes sense why those two probably are a good pair. But let's first install the CLI because I don't think since last time I did it, I think I installed the CLI that was on a different computer. So let's add full CLI. I'm just gonna just do that. Copy. And let's just go here, open up the terminal. I'm going to do sudo install the CLI. Okay, that'll install. Okay, and again, I'm on the full website, which is FoalTS.org. So then I'm going to go create an app using the CLI. We'll say full create app project 1. I guess I typed in the command wrong. Oh, create app is one word. Okay. Full create app project 1. And there it goes. It's installing. It's creating the project. Installing all the things. Okay, so we're using Mocha as a test library. As I can see there. Starting it off with SQLite 3. Although you can connect any other SQL database, it is also using TypeORM under the hood because again, TypeORM works very well with TypeScript. You know, there are other JavaScript ORMs like Sequelize and Objection, etc. Okay, so we got it installed. We created a new project. That's all well and good. Okay, let's take a look at our file structure here once it's done. What we'll do is we'll follow this simple to-do list tutorial. Okay, so let's take a look. Looks like it has finished. So let's cd into the project 1 folder. And then let's run, it says npm run develop is the command. npm run develop. And let's see what we get. It's sitting on port 3001. Okay, so let's take a look at what we find on port 3001. Okay, we get this page. Okay, cool. Now let's go back and examine. Okay, so we have our config folder, which just has configurations. Okay, so that's, I guess, the configurations. Okay, so these are the configurations for the environments. So that's the database information for production, development. I got it. That makes sense. And this is the default one. Okay, trying to see. Okay, so they must be using Morgan under the hood. So you can just put one of your Morgan templates. I usually use Tiny as well, so that's fine. Database, I guess here we set the database details. Okay, cool. And publics is public. Sources, we're going to be doing most of our work. And then you have all your other configuration files, TypeScript, all that fun stuff. Oh, here's the ORM config. So I'm assuming it's going to be here where we configure type ORM. So let's take a look at this. So yeah, here you would specify the type of database. Okay. Yeah, we probably have to go look inside the documentation on how to configure that. And then here we have our index.ts, so that must be the entry file. So there's the HTTP library, yes. Type ORM, full core library, and then here's our default app controller. Okay, so let's see here. It creates, this is our main function, which makes sense. It's kind of like following the pattern of other languages, how it gets initiated with the main language. And what it does, it creates a connection with the ORM. Then it creates an app, a full app, and passes the main controller in there. Okay. And then here we're setting a port, so that's where the port's being set. Then it's creating a node HTTP server. Okay. Main.catch port. Interesting. Okay. So that's kind of how that works. It's just creating a HTTP server. I'm trying to see where it's passing in. Because the way the HTTP server, like the native like node HTTP server works is like you tell it to listen and you're passing it a giant function that it runs every request through. So essentially when you're like using Express or Polka or when you're adding all your routes in middleware, it's really just kind of adding it into this giant function that's going to run for each request. So I'm assuming, well, this should just get the port number. Okay, this is the HTTP server. Okay, I see. Because here's where you're actually creating the HTTP server, and then this app here is the function. Got it. Okay, and then here you're just chaining off the listening. I get it. Okay. Cool. And again, that's boilerplate, so you don't have to change that. I just want to make sure that I could walk through what it's doing. So then I'm assuming everything else is kind of right here in app. Yep, we got the controller. Here's app controller.ts, which I'm assuming is sort of the main controller. So all our other controllers will have to, yep, and that's basically what happens. So here there's an API controller, and that gets included in through there. So basically what we're doing here is just creating an array of controllers. Okie dokie, that's cool. And if I go to controllers, here's the API controller. Okay. Well, that's a test file. API controller here, and it's just an index route, which is that slash, and that's going to return the response hello world. So theoretically, if we go back and follow this logic, app controller TS says this controller is used at slash API, and the controller itself says the root of that controller is just going to respond with hello world. So I should be able to go to slash API and I should get hello world, and that's what I get. Good. So essentially they already have a API controller if you want to build an API here. Okay. Now what I'd like to know is how that default route gets set up. Controller. Okay, that's app controller. Okay, and then here we're just specifying other controllers. I get that. Services, index.ts. There's no services in there right now. So again, services are just going to be like other things that we pass around to do the things. Hooks. I'm not sure what the purpose of hooks will be here. Entities are usually like your models. Like if we use Mongoose, that's your models. If you've used Java and you've used, I forget what's called, the Java ORM thing. But they also use the term entity to refer to sort of models. Okay, so here's like a default user entity. And see, like we're saying, okay, this class here is an entity. It's a model. So it's describing data in a database. It has a primary ID of number. And that here you can enable other things, like if you want to add a email string, a password thing. So this is like for the built-in auth. Okay, so that's all pretty neat. Okay, I think we've kind of explored it enough there. Let's go back to the tutorial. Okay. So okay. So the application that you'll create with a simple do list consists of a front-end part that already has been written for you. The backend that will be the topic of this tutorial. First, download the HTML, CSS. Okay, we'll worry about that afterwards. Let's just create some stuff. Okay, so let's list the tasks, create the tasks. Yep. That's just an overview. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to generate an entity. So this is the CLI command to generate an entity, so generate a model. Okay, and again, it's using SQLite 3 off the bat, so we don't have to worry about it. It'll be able to create a database for us as needed. Okay, so full generate entity to do. Full generate entity to do. That's the name of the entity. All right, do I need to enter anything else in there? No. Okay, so there we go. So now if I go to app and I go to entities, we now have the to do entity. Okay, now there's an index.ts, and see it's importing, we're importing all the different to-dos, because then that's going to end up, and it's exporting them right away, so that way it can be imported into probably the app controller here. Is that what it's doing? Oh, it's going to import the whole thing somewhere. Okay, cool. So user to do, and I want to go to the entity file, and right now this entity only has a primary ID of number. Let's see what it wants us to add. Okay, we're also going to add a column of text string. Okay, so we need to bring in the column decorator, which just means adding another field. Okay, and again, that's a function. And then we have to pass in, but this decorates a field, so we're going to be calling this field, what did we want to call this field? Text string. So this is going to be a property called text with the type of string. Okay, so there we go. We have our to-do list entity. Okay, so that's been created. Now what we need to do is build our migrations. Okay, so we're going to run npm run build app, and what that's going to do is just take a look for entities that don't have a migration yet and build those migrations. Okay, so let's do that. npm npm run build app. So that's going to build out our migrations. I'm assuming it did. Let me see, where would the most migration files show up? So I'm assuming it's going to be like in the config somewhere, maybe? No. Is it in the source, entities, controllers? Okay. It works somehow, but I'm just going to have faith. Okay. So we compile the application. Then we're going to, so we have to still have to generate the migration. So here we go, npm run migration generate. Okay, and then we put a name on it. Okay. It's weird that you have to do the dash dash twice, but okay. Let's make it work. Okay. npm run migration dash dash. Actually, let me just take a look at that command again. Run migration, I want to generate. So run migration generate dash dash name, and what's the syntax of the name? Equals add to do entity. So let's run that. Good, that's generated the migration. So hey, we have a new folder called migrations. So here's our migration file. Okay, and just like any migration file, it just basically has the directions on how to create the table and what fields to add and subtract. Okay. So we're going to create a table called to do, and see there's all the SQL commands. That's pretty straightforward. Okay. I'm good with that. Let's see what the next step is. Okay. New file appears migration. That has all in there. So let's run npm run build migrations. We did that. Oh, we need it. Let's compile the migrations. Migration run. Okay, yeah, that's right, because this is Typescript, so we got to compile stuff. Okay, now it's starting to click. Okay. npm run build migrations. Okay, and that should build the migrations, so that way they're turned into JavaScript. And then we can do npm, what's the next command? npm won't run, or npm run migration run. npm run migration run. Okay, and that looks like it was all successful. And again, you can always know what commands are in a particular thing by just looking at, like, So this is a pretty long list of scripts. Okay, so you can see a lot of different options here to do the things you need to do. Okay, so that builds a migration. And now we should have a database called SQLite3 floating around somewhere. So there it is. There's our database. Good. Okay. Now, there we go. Okay, so our database is created. It's got the table. Okay, let's generate so we're going to generate a script. So this is just going to be to seed our database. So let's do npm run generate. Oh, no, it's full generate script create to do. So we created the script. So now I'm assuming there's going to be a folder called scripts. And yep, that's right there. Okay. Cool. There's our script. A shell script is a piece of code, blah, 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 blah. It has access to all the components of your application, including your models. A shell script is divided in two parts: a schema, an object which defines the specification or command line arguments, and the main. So let's see here. Once the new generated files into the scripts directory and update its contents. So let's see, walk through it. It's importing the to-do entity. Let's just copy this and look at it from VS Code. Okay, app. So again, we're bringing in the to-do. Export the schema, which is properties text type string, required text type object. Okay, that's just a schema of the to-do. And then what is it doing? It's creating a function that's taking in args, particularly is expecting in that args a property called text string. Okay, consecrate await connection. To do equals a new to do. To do.text equals args.text. Okay. Cool. So basically we're just creating the new to do. We're assigning the argument of the script to here, and then we are console logging this to do and then saving it. Here we save the to do. I'm assuming that's going to return the to do, which is why I want to console log it. And then when it's done, it closes the connection. Okay, so that's that. And then again, we got to compile it because it's TypeScript. So npm run build scripts. npm run build scripts. And then here we do pass in the arguments. So run full run create to do. So we're running the script. Full run create to do. Text equals hello there. Okay, so see, it created that one. And then I'll just do the same thing again. Hello there 2. Hello there 3. Okay, so we created the thing. That's all fun and well. Now let's create the API. Okay, so we're going to use the API controller since the API controller exists. Okay, and special supposed to do's. So first let's copy over the get. So this is what the API should look like. So we go to the controller, we're going to go to the API controller, not the test file, but this. I want to paste over this. So here so we're importing a whole bunch of stuff, context. Cool. I see, like, that's a great thing about TypeScript. See, like, having this, like, it describes what's inside each thing. So the user object if available, the session object if available, they can be used to pass data across several hooks. Okay, we have our delete, get requests, HTTP response created, HTTP response with no content if we're not returning anything, HTTP response not found, HTTP response okay. So basically this is going to be API / to-dos. Okay, and basically what happens there is just going to get all the to-dos from the repository. Okay, and then find all, and then just return all of them. Okay, that makes sense. Let's add the other ones. Let's see, here we have the post and delete. Where's the post? Oh, there it is, the post. So here's post and delete, so we can create and delete a to-do. Okay, let's run through the first one, post. Okay, so we're creating a function called post to do, and it's taking in the context. So the context is going to be passed in because we have the context type, so that we can receive it. Create a new to do with the body of the HTTP request. Okay, const to do, new to do. So we're going to create a new to do. The to do text is going to have the request body. So again, the context includes the express request. So in here, in context, we can access the express request. And inside that express request, there's the body. And then we can grab that text property. Okay, so that makes perfect sense. Then we're getting the repository to do. And we're going to save the to-do we created. Okay, that makes sense. And then we respond with the newly created to-do. Delete, we specify an ID here in the route. Okay, context, and then again, context.request.params.id is what you would get in Express. Get repository to do, find one. Okay, that all passes muster. Makes sense. Because we're getting, the idea here, get repository always means to get like a particular model / table. So basically we're saying, hey, remove this to do from this repository. See, first we went and looked, so we got the repository to do, to find one, and then we took that to do that we found and passed it back in to remove it. And then it returns nothing. Okie dokie. So now that that's created, we're probably going to have to run an npm run build, I'm assuming. Okay, I'm not going to worry about validation and sanitization right now. I just want to test the API now. Okay, I'm assuming the next thing I want to do is I want to build out the app. So npm run build app. Run build app, so that'll build the app back in the JavaScript. And then I want to npm run develop to run the dev server. So that's, I think, running. Yep. Okay. Cool. So let's try this out. Slash to do. Or is it to-dos? There we go. And then there's our to-dos. Okay, so the API is created and it's working. So that's all hunky-dory. So that's FoalTS. Okay, they, again, both Nest and Foal are very CLI oriented. If you ever use Java Spring, I do find, you know, now on the second go around, because like the last time I used FoalTS, one, I didn't know Express that well yet, and I never had tried out Java Spring. But now coming back to it, I can appreciate how it uses Express under the hood, but I also appreciate how like a lot of the patterns are very similar to my experience in the using Java Spring, and it's I keep forgetting what the ORM there is. Like, I think it's like JDB something. So that's interesting. And then again, Nest was a workflow that's much more similar to like Angular, where you generate stuff and it all goes into like that module type structure. But both very CLI heavy. But they both use TypeScript, which is again the reason why you'd use them, because you want to have sort of a more scalable JavaScript backend. So you're going to use TypeScript. So that's sort of the case to be made for using FoalTS or Nest.js as your backend framework. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.